Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Erdley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Welcome to episode number 17 of the Resilient Retail Game Plan. I'm so excited to have you listening with me today. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Catherine Erdley and I'm your host, as well as the founder of the Resilient Retail Club. The Resilient Retail Club is my membership group for creative product businesses, and you can find out more at resilientretailclub.com. So today, we're going to be talking all about how to have a sale. I'm genuinely really excited about this episode because it's a question I get asked quite often. How do you deal with stock that's not performing, and how do you have a sale? And I believe that stock clearance sales are one of the most misunderstood and misused elements of running a product business. So the most effective and least brand damaging way for you to clear excess stock in your business is to run a proper full-on clearance sale twice a year. Hit the stock hard, hit it sharp, for example, maybe 50% off or even deeper, but do it for a limited period of time. It's really hard to see the product that you've paid so much for being sold at 50 off. I know that that's true, but think about it as money that is currently trapped in your business. You need to free that money up. I always think about stock clearance sales a little bit like when you clear out your garage or your loft or just having a bit of a clear out. If you manage to sell some of the stuff that you have in your house that you don't really want to have anymore, you're going to end up selling it for way less than what you paid for it, but it's still going to get you some cash in hand and it's going to just clear things out so that you can move forward. Extra stock in your business takes up space. It takes up mental space as well because you'll be thinking about it and thinking about what to do with it. And it sucks up cash. So if you're sitting on too much stock in your business, or if you're sitting on certain items, too much of certain items, and you want to clear through, then having a really well thought out stock clearance event a couple of times a year is the best way for you to do it. And what I want to run through today is 5 steps for you to go through to help you have a really effective stock clearance sale. Now, stock clearance sales, as I'm sure you're aware, it's something that's really used a lot in the high street. In big retailers, I've spent many Mondays of my life going through the sale proposal, going through the stock that we were going to put into the sale, looking at the price points we were assigning it, looking at the overall messaging, looking at how effective the sale was being at clearing the stock, making decisions about what we were going to do to clear it further, and just generally managing the whole sale process. So big retailers use these sales all the time. And I remember having this conversation with my mum probably many years ago when she said, I don't like buying things in the sale because it means that they're not very good products or they haven't sold very well. And I was explaining to her that that's not true at all. If something gets put in the sale by a big retailer, it's nothing to do at all with whether or not it's a good product or a bad product. It just means they've got too much of it, or it's no longer something they want to carry forward with. It could actually be a previous bestseller, but if it's not selling now, or if it doesn't make sense as part of their bigger picture moving forward, then they will clear it in a sale. So let's just start with that point of view. Clearance sales, stock clearance sales are useful. They're important. They are not a judgment on the products that you're putting into the sale. They are just, if you like, a safety valve. I like to think of them as if your sales don't come through the way that you expect, so you overbought something or you bought something that didn't perform, then your Stock clearance sale is a chance for you to reset, to get some cash back that's trapped in your business and to start again. As I said, I know full well that making decisions about taking 50% off a product that belongs to a company is a very different process from thinking about taking 50% off an item that you've taken money out of your own account to pay for. But the principles are the same. And if you can learn to look at your stock clearance events in an objective and strategic way, it will make them much more effective for you and for your business. Okay, so let's run through 5 steps to having a really effective stock clearance sale. First one is plan it in. Traditionally, Boxing Day. So last week we talked about Christmas promotions. If you've not caught that episode, then do go back and have a listen. So we talk about all of the different kinds of promotions that you can have. And we're talking about traditionally sometime in the summer. Those 2 key time periods are the biggest clearance events. And arguably the January sale or the Boxing Day sale leading into January, that's the biggest clearance event of the year. That's when the retailers, where the kind of whole industry has a big clear out. So you want to plan in when you want to have these events. Big retailers run sales, in my opinion, for far too long. They tend to run their end of season for somewhere from 6 to 8 weeks, also mid-season sales, which they run for 3 to 4 weeks or even longer sometimes. For a small product business, generally your margins are not as high as the high street. High street retailers are operating somewhere upwards of 75% margin, so they can afford to have big discounts more regularly. For a small business, you don't have that, generally speaking. I mean, there are small businesses that run on those kind of margins, but they tend to be the exception as opposed to the norm. So you don't want to be doing your sales events, your clearance events for that long. Plus, it really can kind of mess with your messaging because you want basically the full focus to be on that sales clearance event when it's happening, but then you want it short, sharp, and you want it over. So I would suggest, if you've not run stock clearance sales before, maybe plan to run them twice a year and plan to run them for 2, maximum 3 weeks at a time. But the most important thing is that you get it into your calendar and you plan it out. So again, when you're looking at your promotions, that you can actually go through and plan around, okay, well, I'm not going to run a big discount right before I run the sale. Maybe I will save my discounting, if you like, for the big bang of the sale. Or you might just want to use it to help you adjust your messaging. You don't want to, for example, be launching brand new products at the same time as trying to push your sale messaging. So plan it into the calendar, get it in there so that you can work your other messaging as a business around it. The second thing to do, once you've got a date for your sale, the next job, and this was a job that I've spent, as I said, honestly, so many hours of my life doing this, is analyze your stock. So you want to pull a list, if you've got one, or do a stock take, or somehow get yourself a list of everything that you've got in stock in your business. You want to understand how much stock you're sitting on. We've talked about the number of weeks cover before, but if you've not heard me say this before, the number of weeks cover is a yardstick, if you like, for working out how much stock you've got of an item. If you have 100 apples, for example, and in a typical week you sell 2 apples, well, then you have got 50 weeks worth of apples. You take the 100, you divide it by 2. So that means you've got a year's worth of apples. If you have got 10 pairs of earrings and you typically sell 5 pairs of earrings a week, then you've got 2 weeks worth of stock. So in a typical week, you would expect that stock of 10 to last you for 2 weeks because you sell 5 per week. So it's 10 divided by 5. You can run this calculation on every single line in your business. So we've talked before about looking at this number and knowing this number for your overall business. But within any business, you will always have lines that are performing and lines that are not performing. So if you're on 6 weeks cover as a business, which would be a very nice, comfortable place to be, then you're going to have some things which are turning on 1 to 2 weeks cover, your best sellers, and you're going to have some things that are on 20, 25 weeks cover. So you're going to look through, and what you're really looking for are lumps of stock, if you like. So you're looking for lines where you've got a lot of stock and you've got a lot of weeks cover. You may also want to identify the lines where you don't have a huge amount of stock, but you seem to be selling it really slowly. So you want to pull yourself a list then of the things that are really underperforming, that are at least 20% slower than your bottom line. So if you're on around 6 weeks cover, you'd be looking at things that are on 7.2 and slower. Or you might even want to make it even more extreme than that. You may say to yourself, right, actually, I'm going to look at anything that's 10 weeks and slower, or even 12 weeks. So I'm only going to look at things that are twice as slow as the company average. But have a look at that list, because again, I've done this exercise, and the first time around you do it and you're like, wow, that's like half of my stuff is in the sale. Okay, that's not right. I don't want to do that. I only maybe want, typically you'd be looking at around 20 to 25% of your lines going into the sale. Otherwise, it can start feeling a bit overwhelming. So run the numbers, take a look at what is performing below the bottom line for the company, and then identify and take a look at it. And then this is the sort of like there's the numbers piece, and then there's the common sense or the kind of product focused piece. So you run the numbers, you identify the lines that on paper look like they're too slow. And then you look at what those lines actually are, and you make a decision. Is this something that I'm actually happy to sit on, and it doesn't really matter? I don't have a huge amount of money tied up in this stock. I'm happy for it to just sit there. Or I should say, on the other hand, is it something that actually it's got an expiration date? You're getting a bit nervous about much longer you can sell it for. Is it something that was a line you really believed would sell well and it hasn't performed, so you know you have to discount it to clear it? Is it something that no longer fits with the direction of the business or with the other products around it, in which case you'd want to clear it? Is it sort of ends of lines or fragments that you think, actually, let's just clear this through, free up some cash, and kind of clean house, really, is what you're doing. As I said, you run the numbers, you identify the ones that on paper look like they're going to be a problem, and then you look through that list and you check. Some other things you want to watch out for. If you sell things in sets, so let's say, for example, you have an earring and necklace set, or there's two separate things, an earrings and necklace, but the two of them match. If the necklace looks like it should go into the sale, but the earrings don't, you have to make a decision. Are you going to put them both in? Are you going to put neither of them in? Or actually, are you happy that one of them goes into the sale and one of them doesn't? There's no sort of right or wrong answer. I've worked for retailers that have taken different stances on different things. So, for example, sometimes I would work through a sale proposal and we would decide that an entire collection was going to go into the sale, or an entire collection was going to stay out of the sale. And I've also done sale proposals where we have literally said, okay, if half the collection is good and the other half is bad, then we'll just put the bad half into the sale and leave the good half out. So there isn't really a right or wrong answer. It usually comes down to, how do you feel about it? Do you want to just clear through both of them? Actually, you think, do you know what? Maybe it'll help sales if they're both in the sale, because people can get a set for a really great price. But you want to make those decisions carefully. You don't want to do all your sale prep and do all your sale work and put the sale up and then suddenly discover that you accidentally put half of a set into a sale that you didn't mean to. Going back to it then, so thinking about, do I really want to clear this? Actually, am I happy to hang on to it? Does it have a partner, a buddy that you want to put in the sale with it, or conversely keep it out? And then the other thing you might have is some businesses have what I would call customer service pieces. So, for example, when I worked for a clothing brand, we had some tights, some hosiery that we kept in store because it was just an add-on purchase that people would periodically really enjoy the fact that they could buy their dress and their tights at the same time, and then their whole shop was done. It wasn't something we sold a lot of. We didn't have a huge amount of stock. It was very slow turning, but we always kept it out of the sale because it was a customer service piece. You may have the same thing. You may sell lights and have a replacement bulb set, for example, that's not fast turning, but it's there. And it's just, again, nice to have. It means that somebody might purchase that from you instead of having to go elsewhere to complete their purchase. So those are the kind of things that you don't want to put into the sale. And that is the kind of biggest job, really, of putting together a stock clearance sale, is to go through and analyse your stock. So looking at your week's cover and then making a decision. Basically, what you're asking yourself is, do I want to carry on with this as a business, or is it time now for it to get cleared out? Okay, so then once you have done that, so step 1 is plan the sale in. Step 2 is analyze your stock. Step 3 is set yourself a message for your sale. And by that, I mean, are you going to say it's up to 50% off? Are you going to say that it's 50% off everything in the sale? Are you going to say necklaces from £10, for example? What is your sale message going to be? And before we get into that, I'm just going to run through a few technicalities that you need to make sure that you are in line with, because there are legal requirements about pricing and messaging when it comes to sales. The first thing is, if you're going to do a was now statement, so for example, was £100 now £50, or a 50% off statement, you have to make sure that that product has been selling for 28 days at the full price before you say it's a discount. So in other words, if you bring an item onto your website at £100 and then a week later discount it to 50% off, that is considered misleading to the customer because it hasn't price established for 28 days. Now, most small businesses are not going to fall foul of this regulation because most of you are only going to be clearing out stock after you've had it in your business for a considerable amount of time. This is more for people like the fast fashion brands who will bring products in and who will very quickly make a decision. Is it working? Is it not working? And they will quickly discount it or mark it down. This messaging doesn't apply if you're running like a 20% discount. In fact, I've even seen Ocado, for example, they do it as like an introductory offer. They say it will be £10, but it's currently £8. So this kind of blanket discounting, then that is a different thing. That's seen as a different thing. This particular rule about price establishing, this 28 days, this specifically relates to sale messaging. So if you're saying it's going in the sale and it was £100 and it's now £50, then you have to have been selling it for 28 days at £100. Whereas if you say 20% off candles, that's fine, even if the candle has just launched on your website. So if you're sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, I did an introductory offer on my range at 10% off everything, that's absolutely fine. You just have to be careful when you do your sale messaging that when you're saying it's 50% off the original price, that you're really clear that that original price has been live on your website or in your business for at least 28 days. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to do what you say in the message. So if your message is 50% off everything in the sale, then everything in the sale has to be 50% off. That sounds really obvious. But again, that is something that in order to be compliant with pricing regulations, you have to follow what the message says. But this is where the word from or up to comes into play. So if you say up to 50% off everything in the sale, then as long as 10% of the products in the sale are at 50% off or more, then you are allowed to say it is up to 50% off. So you can have a sale message that says up to 50% off in the sale, and then you've got 10% of 50% off or more, and then the rest of it is maybe 30% discount or 20% discount. So again, this was something that I used to have to calculate this for high street retailers, literally going through and working out, were we compliant with the messaging? So again, if you're not going to have everything at 50% off, don't say 50% off everything, say up to 50% off. Basically, though, what you want to do is decide what is your messaging going to be, and then go through the products that you have decided are going to go into your sale and work out what you're going to price them at. So are you going to go straight in at 50% off? Is that going to be your plan? You literally say, right, I'm going to have a sale and I'm just going to go in at 50% off because it's only going to be a short sale and I want it to be short and sharp. So once you've made that decision about the overall pricing for the event, then you would start looking at the pricing of the individual items. So again, if you've decided that you're going to say 50% off everything, then that's very simple. You just have to calculate your price at 50% off. If you've decided to say up to 50% off, then you would look at your worst offending items. So those are the ones where you've got the most stock and it's turning really slowly, and you would make those 50% off, and then you would maybe have slightly lower discounts than on the other lines. Personally, I feel like if you're going to have a short, sharp sale, I would just suggest you take everything to 50% off straight away. You want to get in, you want to get out. And in all honesty, there's so many people who do promotional messaging about 20% off, 30% off. Then I think the customer really reacts when it's at a 50% off discount. That is a really substantial discount. And some people will go into their sales and they'll do them at, say, 20% off. If you've tried that in the past and you know that you can clear through your stock even at just 20% off, then by all means go for it. Don't let me stop you. But if you've tried sales in the past and you didn't get much reaction to them, then take a look at your pricing. Were your discounts deep enough? Point number 4 is thinking about the flow of your messaging, especially if you're going to be running this sale for more than 1 week. If you're just going to be doing the sale for literally 48 hours or a week, you probably don't need different types of messaging. But if you're going to be running it for longer, say 2 weeks or even 3 weeks, then think about how you can change the messaging. So for example, in a big retailer, the messaging would go something like this: up to 50% off. Then it would say things like new lines added, further reductions taken. It might shift to up to 60% off, then up to 70% off. Or it might say final few days, last chance to buy, that kind of thing as the sale was drawing to a close. We'll cover this in the final point, but you really need to, when you're doing a stock clearance sale, you need to be pumping out the messaging to your customers. This is not the time to be subtle. This is not the time to be shy and retiring about trying to sell your products. This is literally get stock out of your business, get the cash in, reset, nice, clean start. It's also an amazing opportunity for your customers to get real bargains. So it should be something that you're absolutely shouting about. If you are thinking about your promotional plan, which is what will come on to the final point, then think about if you're going to be sending out daily messages on social media, if you're going to be changing your homepage, then think about how it's going to flow. So it's going to be sale just launched, up to 50% off. Do you want to review the prices 1 week in? That's something, again, retailers, they will do that every single week. They will start a sale at the lower discount, say up to 50% off, and then a week in, they'll review it, see what's working. And if it's working, they won't take any further action. If it's not working, they'll hit it again. So then that's how they go on to say 60% off, up to 70% off. Some of them will have like really final messaging, which will be like 50% off everything in the sale, for example. That could be kind of your final message. Or price pointing. So all necklaces in the sale now £10 or something like that. So just think about the messaging. It doesn't have to be, because often people struggle with the sale message. They say, well, I don't really know what to say after I've said everything's on sale. But this is a way that you can flow it through, up to 50% off, further reductions taken, and then moving it on. So maybe you want to decide that, well, if I don't see a reaction this time around at 50% off, I'm then going to price point. I'm going to do, like I said, necklaces £10 or notebooks £5 and under. So this kind of thing. Just to remember that every time you use messaging like necklaces from £10 or £10 and under, you have to do what you say. So if you say all sale necklaces £10 and under, you need to make sure that when you're looking at the pricing of the products you're putting into the sale, that you are following your messaging. You can't say all sale notebooks £5, but when the customer lands on your sale page, they're seeing lots of notebooks that aren't £5, if you see what I mean. And again, that's where you would use the from £5. So if you say sale notebooks from £5, as long as 10% of your notebooks are at £5, then you can say that. So it's knowing what you can and you can't say and just making sure that you're really consistent and you're making it really easy for your customer to understand and to shop the sale. Okay, so then point number 5 is really working out your promotional plan. So again, point number 4, we talked about the messaging flow, but then point number 5 is really about then how do you turn that into a promotional plan? You want to think about how you are going to absolutely shout about this stock clearance event. And again, this is another reason to keep it short, because it can be quite exhausting, but you just want to get there and you want to get out in front of your customer. This is why it's often referred to as red sale. So if you think about it, when you walk around a high street shopping area and they're in sale, they actually often have posters that will block out the windows, that there'll be sort of floor to ceiling posters that say sale now on. They make it as obvious as they can. So think about that in your business. Is it that your social media posts are red sale posts just for the week that you're doing the stock clearance sale? Is it that your emails have red sale at the top? Is it that your homepage switches over to say sale now on? So just think about how you can really be in people's faces. As I said, this is not the time to go with beautiful aesthetics. This is not the time you're not going to win any prizes for your design at this time. This is purely about saying, we have a great bargain, and now here's a way that you can get part of that bargain. And this is what the messaging is. So just think about that. And of course, you can do your own spin on it. I'm not saying it has to be red if that is literally making you feel ill at the idea of ruining your brand aesthetic. But just think about how you can make it as obvious as humanly possible that you are having a sale, you're having a clear out. And that is, again, as I said, it's not forever. It's only for maybe a week. If you can get through it and you can get through all that stock in a week, then brilliant. With sales, more than anything, what you want people to believe is that if they don't buy it now in the sale, it's going to go quickly. So that's another reason to have deeper discounts. You want customers to learn that if they want to get something from you in the sale, they have to be quick about it. Okay, so there you are then. The 5-point plan for creating an effective stock clearance sale. Number 1, plan it in. Number 2, analyze your stock. Number 3, work out your price messaging. Number 4, work out how your messaging can flow throughout the event. Number 5, create your promotional plan to get this message out. There's a few other things that I just wanted to touch on as well. If you only have a small amount of product, that when you do the analysis, you're like, well, do you know what? I actually don't have that much. Especially if you're somebody who makes to order, perhaps you simply don't have that much stock to put into a full-blown sale, then definitely think about something like a sample sale or a second sale. These work really well, for example, on Instagram stories. So rather than doing like a full-blown clearance where it's on your website, where it's really, full-on messaging, you may just decide, actually, I think it's better. I think I can clear through this if I do a Instagram story sale where I promote it. I tell everyone at this point I'm going to be doing it. It could be, for example, if you've got seconds in the studio, if you've got samples or things that never went into production, you could probably sneak a few extra items in. If you've got stock of a couple of things and it's just 1 or 2, you can take photos and then you upload them to Instagram stories. Then people will DM you if they want them and you'll send them a PayPal link. So it is something that a lot of people really like. Is something that a lot of customers will really respond to. It's very easy to shop if you're a customer. It's quite exciting. As the things are flashing up on stories, you DM them. And I definitely think it's worth something that you can think about, especially if you've not got huge amounts of stock of things, or you just don't think you've got enough to really make it worth your while. On the other hand, if you do feel like you've got too much stock, or you've tried doing a sale and you just don't feel like you're getting that much of a reaction to it, there are other avenues or other ways that you can think about clearing your stock. So one of the things you might want to consider is, for example, if you've tried a sale, if you've been through a sales cycle and it's not really sold that well, or you've ended up with more stock left than you know what to do with, you can look at something like, for example, an eBay channel. So in eBay, you can set it up. It doesn't even have to be linked to your official account. eBay people love a bargain. So could you put it up there as bundles or heavily discounted? And it's almost happening out of sight of your main customer base. So you can keep your own website premium, full price, but then in the background, you can be shifting some stock through eBay. Chances are you're going to have to sell it even lower than you would have sold it through a stock clearance event on your own website. Depop's another one. For example, if you're a clothing brand, could you use Depop as an opportunity to shift the stock out of sight of your main customer base? And then there are people who will buy, they are known as jobbers. They will buy unwanted stock. Also people like TK Maxx who will take stock. It depends how much extra stock you've got. But they will pay you significantly less. So it's sort of pennies in the pound almost for the products. It can just be a way of clearing through some old stock that is just hanging around and taking up your energy and your thought process. And then sometimes it's worth checking with your accountant if you've really got some old stock or it's been around for a long time and you just want it out of your hair. Then think about if you can give the stock to a charity, and then sometimes that's possible for you to take that as a tax deduction. So I've certainly worked for plenty of big retailers that will do that will find a charity that wants their excess stock, and instead of having it destroyed or having to basically, they're giving it away, but they're getting a tax deduction in return. So that's another thing for you to think about. But I would say a well-managed, well-paced, well-executed stock clearance sale, if you've got a lively, engaged audience, will probably be the best way for you to get through at least a big chunk of your stock and to just be clearing as you go. So if you do it twice a year, then it allows you to tackle these pockets of stock before they build up too much. I hope you found that helpful. As I said, I have spent a long time in my life working on sales. If you've got any questions at all about it, then do feel free to DM me. I absolutely love it when you come over to Instagram at Resilient Retail Club. Tell me what you enjoyed about the podcast and what you're going to do about it. And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not get my ebook all about stock management? So it is going to give you the basics of stock management, including some things that we've touched on today about clearing through your stock as you go. Getting your hands on the stock management ebook is easy, and you'll get so much more as well. It's all part of my Scale Your Business free toolkit, which is a collection of resources designed to help you take your business to the next level. To download the toolkit, visit resilientretailclub.com/toolkits. And if you've enjoyed this episode, then why not follow me on Instagram at Resilient Retail Club and tag me where you are listening. I love to see where you are when you're tuning in. And please, 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 if you have a minute, if you can rate and review this, especially in iTunes, it is hugely helpful to me when I'm trying to get the podcast out to as many people as possible. And of course, if you subscribe, then you will be the first to hear about any new episodes as they are released. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretailclub.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow, or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, the Resilient Retail Club is the place for you. With a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretailclub.com.